And one day I was looking in my little childhood diary and a passage jumped out at me. I was 12 years old and I said I sobbed the whole way home. Over and over I thought about what just happened. In school, a guy called Officer Friendly teaches us to never answer the door when my parents are gone. I thought people like my cousin Brian jumped out of bushes and attacked you at night. They don't warn you about your family. They don't teach us that in school. And that's the truth. They don't teach us that in school. I learned the 8 ways to say no to drugs through DARE. I still got my DARE card. But where are the 8 ways on how to get away until today? We don't teach kids that. So I decided I'd make it my mission to teach kids that. And looking at this passage, I wrote my state legislators and said, we need to educate kids on personal body safety in school. We mandate tornado drills, bus drills, fire drills. We teach kids now internet safety, bully intervention. If we're teaching kids if you're being physically abused on the school bus and at recess, why are we not teaching them if you're being sexually abused, you report it, you're believed, this is not your fault. This is a no-brainer. And some people have argued to me, Erin, we cannot put this responsibility on the kids. I wish we could leave it up to every parent to have this conversation. But I can tell you right now, majority of parents end the conversation on stranger danger. They can't wrap their mind around this idea that someone they know and trust could do this to their kids. So if we cannot rely on parents to have this conversation, where is one other place kids spend most of their time? In school. So I reached out to my state lawmakers and eventually found a senator in Illinois to sponsor Erin's law. And over the course of 3 years, I testified to our state legislators. I had my master's degree in social work, resigned from my full-time job to make it my mission to protect kids. Because it was far more important to me to make sure kids have a voice than having a paycheck. I wanted to make sure kids did not live in silence the way I had been silenced. And I have been warned over and over what a hurdle this would be. This is an unfunded mandate. You're talking about sexual abuse. My own state senator in my district got on the phone with me when I was looking for a sponsor and said, Erin, you're talking about sexual abuse. We don't talk about that in our society. I agree we should be educating kids, but you'll never get this passed. I can't sponsor this. And I hung up the phone with him by ending it and said, I will find somebody that will. It's your attitude that so many people have that we give these predators so much power and control over our kids. So once I found that new state legislator, as I'm getting ready to testify before several of the members in the House, the sponsor of the bill said, Erin, you see that woman the second row in the front. She's been against school mandates her entire career as a legislator, and she will be against this. She'll be the first on her microphone to vote this bill down, that we should not be mandating schools to do things. Your goal is to convince the majority because that's what matters. Well, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh no, I'm convincing this woman. So I sat there, gave my whole testimony, told them the importance of why we need to teach this to kids. Well, she was the first person on her microphone. But instead, she looked around at all her colleagues and said, I want every single one of you to support this law. Had this law been in existence when I was a child, I would have spoken up and told. But like Erin, I kept it a secret. I was told no one will believe me, this is my fault. And she's bawling her eyes out as she's testifying, talking to all of them. Little did this representative who had warned me all about her know that she had a past. Because as I said, it doesn't say I'm abused across my forehead. It's an invisible scar that people don't talk about. And I've run into that situation time and again of people that think this doesn't affect them, and all of a sudden they find out this has happened to a family member or best friend. So after 3 years of testifying to state lawmakers, Erin's law passed in 2013 in my home state of Illinois. But as we know, kids are not just being sexually abused in my home state. They're being abused around this world. So I made it my life mission to get this law passed in all 50 states. And I began traveling from one state capital after another, headed to Maryland next week to testify to our state legislators. And traveling one state after another before these legislators, telling them that we need to protect kids. That the only people that should be against this law are the predators themselves. Why would anybody else be against it? We're trying to protect children. This is a no-brainer. But I can't begin to tell you how many legislators I get before that sit there and vote against this because it's an unfunded mandate. It's requiring too much time of teachers. So I'm asking for an hour out of a school year. We can't give an hour out of an entire school year to protect kids from abuse. The reality is, the kids that are being abused are already taking away from school time by being disruptive in the classroom, interrupting the rest of the kids. If we can educate them at a young age and they can speak up and tell the minute it happens or prevent it before it happens, then we can save these kids. And so as I've traveled state to state, as you heard, this law has now been passed in 26 states. And I'm happy to say Michigan was the 5th state to pass it. And I actually describe in my 3rd book, there's a whole chapter called The Miracle in Michigan, because believe me, it was not easy. I came here and testified. It came down to the final minutes of legislation at 2:30 in the morning. Senator Prose is texting me, telling me we did it. Lobbyists were working on it. There was all this fight to get this passed here. Like I said, you think it's a no-brainer, but this is a topic that makes so many people uncomfortable. And without this law, we're giving the Jerry Sandusky's of this world the ability to control our kids. Think of how many kids were abused for how many years by Jerry Sandusky over the course of a decade. Had some of them been educated, could have saved so many other children's lives by speaking up and telling. And every time I get before these legislators, I tell them, you can vote this bill down as many times as you want. I'm not going away. You're eventually going to get sick of me. You're eventually I'm going to become your biggest headache. My biggest battle for 4 years now has been the state of